Welcome back, and today we're going to be covering Bazaar CTF. We're going to be learning spawn control and map awareness, and if used correctly, you're going to have an advantage over your opponent and win more games. So let's get right into it. I do want to say, since this is one of the bigger maps, it is very important that you're aware of your teammates' locations and where the spawns are going to be at. That's why, to begin with, I plotted out all the spawn locations in order to make the reads easier for you guys. And if you use a microphone, make sure you learn all the callouts because that's going to make it easier to let your teammates know where you need help or what areas they need to block. But we're going to be learning more about this further down the video. Now we're going to color code the map to simplify the spawn locations. We are going to have two red spawn areas near the base. Then we're going to have three blue areas, one the palm trees, then the bar which is higher ground, and then the elbow which is lower ground. And lastly, marked in yellow, we're going to have the overextension spawns. One area is going to be the library or hut, and the other one is going to be the basement trenches area. And it might be helpful to you in your mind if you picture the map in three layers. You have the red, the blue, and the yellow, or simply 1, 2, 3 areas for the spawns. Now, with this information in mind, let's look at some game scenarios. Let's say a situation where four opponents are in respawn. The fastest route is going to be taking the flag down the middle, but it's going to be very important for your teammates to move out of the base and block the furthest spawns away from the base, because that way the opponent is going to spawn in back of the base or possibly a blue area as well, and it's going to be a lot easier for your flag carrier to move out, and nobody's going to be spawning in front of him or around him. Let's look at a different situation when four opponents go down in their base and your team isn't able to leave the base fast enough. You're going to be having overextension spawns on the sides, so that's going to make it a lot difficult to be able to cross the midway point. You're going to be pinched in. That's why if you're not able to block both of the sides of the overextension spawns, the yellow spawns, at least block one side, because that's going to make it a lot easier to run the flag through that area. If you're the flag carrier and you notice your team setting up on the right side of the map, make sure you run the flag in that direction. Here are some possible routes, and you want to do that because your team is going to provide you some support. Also, your team and the flag carrier have to be aware of the basement spawn, the overextension spawn, because that most likely is going to be the first spawn. And if this player's job, the overextension spawn, to overextend and be the cutoff man and maybe slow you down or even get the return. And if that's not available, he's going to pull the flag and buy time for his team to spawn up. So be aware of that so you don't get caught off guard. Also make sure you don't run the flag to the left side of the map or the bottom part of the map because you're going to run into the enemy spawns. Likewise, if you're the flag carrier and you notice your team setting up on the left side of the map, make sure you run it in that direction because that's going to make it a lot easier. Here are some possible routes. And for this type of setup, you're going to have to be aware of the overextension spawn in the library or the hut. So make sure that player doesn't catch you off guard in the same way. Also, a very important detail that is overlooked is when someone of your team tries to flank and pull the flag. If they're constantly doing this over and over, they're going to leave your team at a disadvantage. It's going to be a 3v4 for the majority of the game. And especially it's going to make it extra hard for your team if the OS is coming up and the opponent is able to grab that OS because they are playing a 4v3. So make sure you're not doing that constantly. Of course, every now and then you can get a sneaky pull, but that is very risky. So make sure you're not putting your team in a disadvantage throughout the whole game. It is very risky because all the opponent has to do is turn around and return to their base. In that case, you're going to be all by yourself. And we can see this by looking at different scenarios. It's going to be very difficult to take different routes because you're going to run into the enemy team. And there is going to be an opportunity to flank the opponent and pull the flag. But remember, in CTF, it's a numbers game. Make sure you have the numbers, then the flank's going to be a lot more successful. So remember, if you're the flag carrier, pay attention to your teammates, so it's a lot easier to know which direction you can run the flag. Also make sure you're spawn blocking, so you can have the opponent spawning in the areas that you want. Hopefully you were able to take something out of this video. Subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming uploads, and thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one.